So let's continue with our Gcelium book. And last we did with Arctic Circle and Polar Region chapter. That was last chapter. और अभी हम लोग कर रहे हैं आर्टिक चैप्टर 24 द कूल टेम्परेट ईस्टर्न मार्जिन जो है लॉरेशियन. देखते हैं डिस्ट्रीब्यूशन. सबसे पहले द कूल टेम्परेट ईस्टर्न मार्जिन लॉरेशियन क्लाइमेट इज एन intermediate type of climate between British and Siberian type of climate. So it has features of both the marine and the continental climate. So it is apparent from this figure that the Laurentian type of climate is found only in two regions. कहाँ कहाँ होता है? One is north eastern North America. ठीक है, तो ये अगर अमेरिका है, नॉर्थ अमेरिका है, तो इस रीजन में आपको मिलेगा नॉर्थ ईस्टर्न साइड में, इंक्लूडिंग ईस्टर्न कनाडा, कनाडा का भी वो पार्ट अगर मान लीजिए आप आ गया तो, एंड न्यू इंग्लैंड स्टेट्स. ठीक है, दैट इज मैरीटाइम प्रोविंसेस एंड न्यू इंग्लैंड स्टेट्स एंड न्यू फाउंडलैंड. तो ये सब हो गया. दिस मे बी रेफर टू एज द नॉर्थ अमेरिकन रीजन. द अदर रीजन इन द ईस्टर्न कोस्टलैंड ऑफ एशिया इंक्लूडिंग ईस्टर्न साइबेरिया, नॉर्थ चाइना, मंचूरिया, कोरिया, नॉर्दर्न जापान, it may be referred to as Asiatic region. So in the southern hemisphere, this climate type is absent because only a small section of southern continent extends south of latitude of 40 degree south. The only possible location is eastern Patagonia, south of Bahia Blanca to Terra Fuego. But the climate barrier of the southern Andes is so complete that the westerlies hardly ever reach Patagonia. So the region is subjected to aridity rather than continent, contin, continentality. Its annual precipitation is not more than 10 inches, so that it is a rain shadow desert. Elsewhere in the southern hemisphere, the climate is so equable and the oceanic influence is so profound that neither the continental nor the eastern margin type of climate exists. So climate पे आते हैं. The Laurentian type of climate has cold, dry winters and warm, wet summers. Winter temperature may be well below freezing point and snow falls to quite as depth. Summers are as warm as the tropics, and if it were not for the cooling effects of the offshore cold current from the Arctic, the summer might be even hotter. The rain falls throughout the year. There is a distinct summer maxim from the easterly winds from the ocean. Of the annual precipitation of 30 to 60 inches, two-thirds come in summer. Winter is dry and cold because the winds are dry westerlies that blow out from the continental interiors. We shall now examine in closer details the variation of the Laurentian type of climate between North America region and Asiatic region. So the North American region पे आते हैं. The most remarkable characteristics of Laurentian climate of the North American region is its uniformity in precipitation. With a late summer maximum, Newark has an annual precipitation of 41 inches, with the wettest month in July-August. No month is really dry, and the driest month, November, inches of rain. The uniformity of precipitation is largely due to the Atlantic influence and that of Great Lakes. The warm Gulf Stream increases the moisture content of easterly winds from the ocean Atlantic. The prevailing westerlies which penetrate across the Rockies carry depression over the Great Lakes of the New England states. These winds thus promote wet conditions, especially in winter, which are vital for the agricultural activities of northeastern North America. The meeting of the warm Gulf Stream and the cold Labrador Current on the coastal waters of Newfoundland produces dense mist and fog and gives rise to much precipitation. St. John's, its capital, has much as 54 inches of annual precipitation. It is said that Newfoundland experiences more drizzles than any other part of the world. In summer, the westerlies bring less depression and extend their continental influence to the coast. Temperatures are normally high in summer for the latitude. New York has a mean July temperature of 74 Fahrenheit and sometimes even as high as 90 Fahrenheit. Once on 7th August 1918, the absolute maximum of 104 Fahrenheit was reached. Such high temperature in a cool temperate maritime region where the relative humidity is high can be very trying. Prolonged heat waves cause discomfort and frustration in crowded cities. In winter, the temperature drops and snow falls. New York has 2 months below freezing point and an annual temperature range of 43 Fahrenheit. Away from the maritime influences and cold increases. The mean January temperature of Quebec, Ottawa, and Montreal Respectively, the temperature ranges widen accordingly. The Asiatic region, in the contrast, the rainfall distribution of Asiatic region is far less uniform. Winters are cold and very dry, while summers are very warm and exceptionally wet. Peking, a typical station of the lauretian climate in northern China, will bring about these facts very clearly. It has 7 dry months from October to April with a total rainfall of less than 2.1 inches, which is only 1/12 of the annual total 25 inches. The remaining 5 months receive more than an inch a month and with 9.4 inches in July alone. The rainfall regime is in fact similar to that of tropical monsoon climate in India, where the whole year rainfall is concentrated in the three summer months. The mountains interior of China has such pronounced continental effects that the intense heating in summer creates a region of extreme low pressure. Moisture-laden winds from Pacific and the Sea of Japan blow in as the southeast monsoon. The Laurentian type of climate here is often described as cool, temperate monsoon climate. It has a very long, cold winter and a big annual range of temperature. The July mean for Peking, while that for January, the temperature range is therefore more than the dry, cold wind that blows out from the heart of Asia in winter carries fine yellowish dust and deposits it as thick mantle of loess in Shanxi and Sensi and other neighboring provinces that bend of the Honghu. Much of the winter precipitation in northern China, Korea, and Hokkaido, Japan is in the form of snow. So, in the mountainous district, the snow piles to a depth of 5 to 10 feet. The climate of Japan is modified by its insularity and also by meeting of the warm and cold ocean current. It receives adequate rainfall from both southeast monsoon in summer and northwest monsoon in winter. So, these are the reasons of Laurentian type of climate. So later is a dry, cold wind from mainland Asia, but after the crossing the Sea of Japan, it has gathered a sufficient moisture to give heavy relief rain or snow on the western coast of Japan. The rainfall is more evenly distributed, as in Tokyo, with two maxima, one in June and plume rain, and the other in September, typhoon rain. So on the windward slope of Japanese Alps on the west, some station, that is Kanjoa, have more than 102 inches of rain, much of falling as snow. The maritime influences also effectively moderate the temperature range. Tokyo has a range of this Fahrenheit, with none of the months below freezing point. The warm Kuroshio has played an important part in making climate of Japan less extreme. In meeting the cold Oashio from the north, it also produces fog and mist, making North Japan the second Newfoundland. Fishing replaces agriculture as the main occupation in many as identified coastland. Natural vegetation पे आते हैं. The predominant vegetation of Laurentian type of climate is cool, temperate forest. The heavy rainfall, the warm summers, and the damp air from fogs all over the growth of the trees. Generally speaking, the forests tend to be coniferous north of 50° north, parallel of latitude. The increase in the length and the severity of the winter excludes forests that are not adaptable to cold conditions. In the Asiatic region, eastern Siberia and Korea, the coniferous forests are in fact continuation of the great coniferous belt of taiga. Lumbering has always been a major occupation of this sparsely populated part of Eastern Asia, and timber is a leading export item. Much of the original coniferous forest of fir, spruce, and larch have been cleared as a result of lumbering rather than agriculture. Eastern Canada, along the banks of Lawrence River, in the heart of Canadian timber and wood pulp industry, south of latitude 50° north, the coniferous forests give way to deciduous forest. Oak, beech, maple, and birch are the principal trees. Like their counterparts of the western margin, the deciduous forests are fairly open. The long growing season of the over 6 months and an adequate supply of moisture from maritime source encourage rapid growth of ferns and other temperature undergrowth. The occurrence of trees in almost pure stand and the predominance of only a handful of species greatly enhances the commercial value of these forests. So as a result, they have been extensively filled for the extraction of temperate hardwood. In many parts of Manchuria, Korea, and Japan, the forests have made way for plough. Both food and cash crops are raised. In Canada, due to the greatest reserves of coniferous softwoods and their overriding importance in industrial uses, the annual production of deciduous hardwood is much less significant. Now, economic development पे आते हैं. Lumbering as its associated timber, paper, and pulp industries as most important economic undertaking. Agriculture is less important in view of the severity of the winter and is Long duration. Fortunately, the maritime influence and the heavy rainfall enable some hardy crops to be raised for local needs. Potatoes thrive over large areas of perjoiled soil, while hardly cereals like oats and barley can be sown and successfully harvested before the onset of the cold winter. A number of other interesting crops are produced in the Asiatic region, such as soybeans. North China, Manchuria, and Korea are among the world's leading producers. Groundnuts, sesame, rapeseed, tungwal, and mulberry. In the North American region, arable farming is not carried out on a sizable scale except in the more favored localities. Farmers are engaged in dairy farming, hay cultivation, and mild maritime areas. Fruits growing fertile Annapolis Valley in Nova Scotia in the world's most renowned region for apples. Fishing is, however, the most outstanding economic activity of the Lauretian climate region. Fishing off Newfoundland, the maritime province of New England. This is one of the world's largest fishing grounds, particularly on the Grand Bank of Newfoundland. The reason for this importance are geographical. Fish feed on marine organism collectively called plankton, which is present in abundance only in shallow waters, adjacent to land masses where sunlight can penetrate through. The gently sloping continental shapes less than 60 feet deep, which stretch over 200 miles east of Newfoundland and off the coast of maritime province, and New England contain a rich collection of microscopic plankton. Fish of all types and sizes feed and breed here and support for thriving fishing industry, not only in Canada and USA, but also in countries like Norway, France, Britain, Portugal, Denmark, Russia, and Japan, who send fishing fleets to the Grand Banks. As less than 1% of Newfoundland is cultivated, fishing produces employment for almost the entire population. It is not only the chief source of wealth of Newfoundland, but also a major export item of all maritime provinces. Both pelagic fish, which live near the surface, and demersal fish, which live near the bottom of shallow seas, are caught. The chief fish caught is cod, which is consumed fresh or dried, salted, smoked, canned, and packed in ice for export to maintain mainland America, Central and South America, and southern Europe. Cod liver oil is exported too. Other fishes caught are haddock, halibut, hake, herring, plaice, and mackerel. Kinds of fishing craft and technique are employed to obtain maximum harvest from the sea. Modern ट्रॉलर्स क्या होता है ट्रॉलर्स जिसमें फिश ये सब कंटेंट जाता है carrying dragging large conical shaped nets and drifters carrying curtain like rectangular nets operate extensively off the Atlantic coast. They are equipped with the radio and radar devices to navigate through the dense fog, avoid collision and icebergs, and also maintain contact with their headquarters on land. Offshore fishermen also use traps, lines, and nets to catch crabs, lobsters, and shrimps for home consumption and increasingly for export. Further inland, in lakes and rivers such as the Lawrence and the Great Lakes, freshwater fish, salmon, trout, eels, and sturgeons are caught. In Newfoundland and along the Atlantic coast are many fishing ports. St. George, chief port of Newfoundland with population nearly 1 lakh, is the headquarter of the Grand Bank fishing industry. It also had interest in sealing and whaling, but these have declined. In the fishing port of Halifax and Yarmouth in Nova Scotia and in New England ports are processing plants that cut clean salt pack of preserved fish for disposal by refrigerated boats, trains or trucks to all parts of the continent. They are based for large fleets of trawlers. A modern trawler may well cost anything around $1 million and have been stayed on board in floating factories far out at sea for days and even weeks. Fishing in this part of the world is highly specialized and very efficient. In fact, overfishing is a growing problem. The United States government and international fishing bodies are now contemplating strict measures in fish conservation if this major sources of protein food is to be sustained for regular supply in the years to come. Fishing off Japan in the Northwest Pacific, surrounding the island of Japan, is another major fishing area of the world. Nowhere else in the world are there so many people engaged in fishing as in this part of Northwest Pacific. The mountainous nature of Japan, parts of mainland Eastern Asia, have driven many to seek a livelihood from the sea. The scarcity of meat and religious reason have popularized fish as a principal item of diet and chief protein food of the Japanese and the Chinese as well. Large quantities of fish and fish products are either canned and preserved for the export to neighboring countries. The Japanese also make use of fish waste, fish meal, and seaweeds as fertilizer in their farms. Japan is one of the few countries that has taken seaweed cultivation. Coastal farms that are submerged in water grow weeds for sale as fertilizer, chemical ingredients, and even as food. So another interesting aspect of Japanese fishing is pearl culture, yeah, pearl farming. The divers of southern Japan dive down into the coastal waters and bring to the surface sailfish called pearl oysters and extract the highly prized pearls for sale as ornament. The lining of the oyster shells, called mother of pearl, is used for manufacture of pearl buttons and other decorative articles, as natural pearls in oysters are difficult to obtain in large number. The Japanese have begun to breed the young oysters by injecting tiny seeds into them. The oysters are made of secret the pearl material, which accumulates to form cultured pearls. They are collected and exported. The Japanese interest in fishing is not confined to their own territorial waters. They venture far and wide into the Arctic, Antarctic, and Atlantic waters. Large whaling fleets, complete with processing plants and experienced crews, stays out in the open seas and return only occasionally for refueling or replenishment of fresh provision. As a nation, Japan accounts for sixth of the world's total annual fish caught. She is the world's greatest fishing nation today. Her active participation in international fishing enterprise and her advanced fishing techniques speaks well for a relentless drive to make good from the seas what she lacks on land. So let us now let us find out why this is possible. Japan is not well endowed with natural resources. For as much as 80% of her land is classed non-agriculture, she has to take the sea if she wants to survive. This has compelled the people to develop the sea, and fishing far has for centuries been in the traditional occupation of many coastal Japanese. The continental shelf around the island of the Japan are rich in plankton due to the meeting of the warm Kuroshio and the cold Oyashio current and provide excellent breeding grounds for all kinds of fish including herring, cod, mackerel, bonito, salmon, sardine, tuna as well as crabs and lobster. See the indented coastline of Japan provides sheltered fishing ports, calm water and safe landing. Ideal for fishing industry in Hokkaido, where the lauretian type of climate is too cold for active agriculture, fishing takes first place. Hokkaido and Kuroshio are large fishing ports complete with refrigeration facilities. Lack of lowland and pasture means that only a few animals can kept to supply meat and other protein food. Fish in all its varied forms, fresh, canned, dried, frozen, and in the form of fish paste, fish sauces, and spiced condiments takes place of meat as Japan's primary source of protein food. So there is a great demand for it locally and for export to other East Asiatic neighbors which lack the technique of large-scale commercial fishing. The Japanese fishermen began with small fishing boats using nets, traps, and lines. With the progress made in industries, fishing has also become more scientific, aiming at heavy hauls, high returns, and economy of time, efforts, and money. Though three-quarters of the fishermen practice offshore legged fishing either full-time or part-time in small boats, most of the commercial deep-sea demersal fishing is now highly mechanized. Power trawlers and modern refrigeration plants backed by sound financial organizations have greatly increased the annual fish yield. Japan is now not only a major producer of exporter of fish and marine products but also a center of marine and fishing research. So here we are done with this chapter.